Jamal Charlo is the Lion King of boxing.
Better run, better run, better get up out of way when we come. Better run, better.
Oh, he catches him with the left hook.
Jamal Charlo looks to defend his crown, but power puncher Juan Macias Montiel is armed to fight back. In the Middleweight World Championship on Showtime.
The second round of the NBA playoffs is here, and the action is increasing from game to game.
Every day of the basketball playoffs, DraftKings is hooking you up with a free shot at up to $10,000 in total prizes through the free-to-play pools.
Up to $10,000 in total prizes up for grabs each day, and the best part, it's free.
DraftKings free-to-play pools are easy to play. Download the DraftKings app, check out their pools page, and have your choice at a wide variety of contests for an opportunity to win cash prizes.
All you got to do is answer a handful of questions based on what you think is going to happen during that particular day's NBA games.
Questions like, which team will hit the most threes, or which team will score first?
DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience.
Download the top-rated DraftKings app now and use promo code SMOKE when you sign up to get your free shot at $10,000 in total prizes every day of the basketball playoffs.
Get your shot at huge cash prizes using the promo code SMOKE.
For a limited time only at DraftKings.
Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for more details. Welcome back to another edition of All the Smoke. Jack, what's good?
My brother. And we're here again.
Final day of filming, man. We've been in LA 4 days, had some great interviews. We get to end with our man, welcome, Lakers assistant coach, Phil Handy.
The walking bag.
What's up, man?
So many moves in his bag.
A lot of shit.
Man, it's a pleasure to be here with
A lot
y'all
of shit,
cats,
man.
man.
I'm glad we finally got to link. We've been trying to link and get you on here for a minute. Shout out our homegirl, Michelle. It's her birthday today.
Yeah, Shelly Shell.
Happy
birthday.
I was just on the phone with her not too long ago.
Yeah, so anyway, man, let's get to it. Obviously, 2020 was a disaster outside of you guys winning a championship. What are you encouraged about in 2021, halfway through the year at this point?
Man, from a basketball standpoint, man, because for me personally, 2020 was like probably one of the best years that I've had individually for growth.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time in my basketball career in the last 20 years I've had a chance to sit down and do absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a great time to like reflect and like spend some time with myself, spend some time with my son, and really just kind of dive back into my family a little bit. So for me personally,
Right.
that was one of the best things that could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball-wise, yeah, I think the world knows the challenge that we had. But we came out of that bubble, and the season started so fast for 21, and it was just all about, man, how do we manage the season? How do you manage the season? How do you try to keep guys healthy? How do you get rest? How do you build up your team and just try to get through a season that's, what we call a sprint. I mean, you guys both played in the league for many years. 82 games is crazy, but 72 games in that
Short time.
span that we just played, we
Right.
played every other day.
Mm-hmm.
So really just figuring out how to get through the season, survive, and get through the season and come into the playoffs healthy and give yourself the best chance to try to defend your title, man.
Mm-hmm. That's
You're at
right.
the top right now. Thoughts on the play-in tournament? Obviously, one of your players was not a big fan of it. Bron said whoever came up with the idea should be fired. From a coaching perspective and a standpoint, what was your thought on the play-in situation?
Man, I always feel like the playoffs you got to win games.
Regardless.
So, whatever. You put us in a position where, did we want to play in a play-in game last night? Not necessarily, but, man, those type of games kind of tell you where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for the playoffs? Are you ready for that mental battle? Are you ready for the physical? So for me, it's just, if you got to win a game, you put your hard hat on, prepare yourself, know your opponent, and go win the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That
what you
makes
got to do,
sense, yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people try to say, well, let's play this team and play that team. At some point in the playoffs, you got to play. Whoever is your matchup, you're going to have to play. You got a game plan, and you got to go out there and win. That's what it boils down to me, for me.
Absolutely.
And even though it was a play-in game, how thrilling was it?
That's playoff basketball.
It was thrilling last night,
bro,
man.
It was tough in there.
They
Yeah.
said viewership was up 190% from any game last season.
That dude is a problem, man.
That
That dude is a straight up problem. I don't care. Game plan, you can game plan. Draymond too.
Yeah.
You know,
so smart.
people give Draymond a lot of problems, but he is one of those dudes that's figured out who he is.
Yeah.
Figured out how he needs to play. Figured out how can I play at a high level doing what I do best. And that's making
Get his
a team.
hand, yeah.
Man, I'm gonna have an imprint on the game. I'm gonna go 0 for 5. I might have 2 points, but my imprint is gonna be all over this game.
No
Yeah.
question.
And you look at him and Steph, man, they were just disruptive the whole game. You know, 2 dudes.
Right.
You know, now mind you, don't take anything because the rest of the team, those guys play hard. They playing well.
Yeah.
They figured out their roles. But those 2 dudes, man, are disruptive. And Steph is just, I saw one clip, the whole coaching staff, man, we on the sidelines. Jay Kidd, Lionel Hollins, Frank, myself. Steph was running in circles. He had AD and Alex Caruso running around. We on the sidelines yelling and pointing and screaming. Like, bro, that's what he does to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you let him get loose,
Yeah.
and even when you don't let him get loose.
He liable to knock one
But
down.
think about, now it's just him, but it used to be having to worry about 2 dudes running around like that. You know, that's what made them so
Oh,
unfair, where
man.
you had to, Steph will start running all this way and set a screen for Clay, and then Clay will pop and hit it. You know what I mean? So
They
Steph
changed basketball,
alone
man.
is a monster.
With the weather heating up, the last thing you want with the game on the line is sweaty balls, Jack.
You need the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped, which includes ball deodorant, crop toner, and the new Lawnmower 4.0.
Ball deodorant? I might need to use a couple swipes of that.
Yeah, me too.
The new Lawnmower 4.0 is the GOAT of ball trimmers. With the advanced skin-safe technology, no nicks, no worries.
Don't let it be a hot ball summer. No musty balls, sweaty balls, or salty balls.
Give your balls a boost and seal the deal when it counts the most with the Manscaped Performance 4.0 package. Get 20% off and free shipping when you use the code SMOKE at manscaped.com.
Trim your lawn and whack your weeds. Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 takes care of all your needs.
That's right, 20% off and free shipping when you use the code SMOKE at manscaped.com.
Let your beach balls shine in the summertime.
Look, nobody's perfect. Even the best baseball players in the world strike out with the bases loaded. I've seen the best shooter in the world miss plenty of three-point shots. That's just how it is sometimes.
So even if you feel like you're coming up short in the bedroom sometimes, it's perfectly okay.
Actually, it's not. And if it's bothering you, there's options.
Go to GetRoman.com/ATS now.
With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and outgoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home.
A U.S. licensed healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, it will ship to you free with a 2-day shipping.
Just in time for the weekend. The whole process is straightforward and discreet.
Get started. It's simple. Just go to GetRoman.com/ATS and complete the online visit.
Take care of your ED without even leaving your home. Complete an online visit today to connect with the doctor to take care of it. Go to GetRoman.com/ATS now to get $15 off your first month.
Look, there's a straightforward way to take care of your ED. GetRoman.com/ATS.
Get started now and save $15 on your first month of treatment.
This is kind of, you may not have the luxury of being able to do this because you're so in the moment, but you've been able to see LeBron and Steph go against each other in the finals. You had a great, play-in situation last night. Do you ever just kind of sit back and realize, like, man, we're watching 2 of the greatest players in the history of the game go at each other? Or are you kind of more, this is coach mode, fuck them?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, Matt, like, you know me. We had some time together here with the Lakers. I'm ultra competitive. Like, I'm old school. Like, we on the other team. I'm not trying to talk to you during the game. I'm talking shit to you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to win.
That's how I go.
But also on the flip side, there have been times where I've actually sat on the bench, man, and said, man, who am I watching play?
Right.
Not real talk.
Right.
Like from a perspective of just understanding we love the game and the guys that we're around, the guys that you guys play with, guys you played against, right? As a coach, there have been times I'm sitting on the bench like, man, forget coaching. I'm gonna just enjoy this game.
Right.
Like, I'm watching these cats play at a high level and, arguably one of the best to ever do it. Bron is one of those dudes, man, where it's incredible to be able to see what he's done night in, night out. And I've spent, 6 years with him. But going through that 4-year stretch where we're in Cleveland, and going to the finals every year, playing against Steph and Clay and then KD when he came, that's incredible. It's a lot of buckets on one court, you know. And then you throw Kyrie in there when he was in Cleveland, you know, and just all those other people, man. But being able to sit back and watch this dude every night, sometimes I'll be on the bench just like this.
Like somebody
Bro,
like
I'm sitting in the living room.
Like,
You know, I
damn.
tell people all the time, man, I had one of the best seats in the house. You know,
Can't
You've
beat
had a
that.
lot of luck in just landing, obviously, grind to get to where you're at, but fortunate enough to catch Kobe, Coach LeBron, Coach Kawhi, and Coach LeBron again. I mean, you've got 3 rings as a coach, but like I said, somehow you land on your feet in great situations. But I mean, you're just accustomed to going to the finals now. You know, I mean, you went, like you said, 4 years in a row with Cleveland, then you go with Toronto, then it's a year off, or no, you went right with the Lakers, right?
right with the Lakers.
Right with the Lakers.
So you've been to the finals, what, the
6
last
years in a row?
6 years?
6 straight.
Man, look at you. Look at you. But what's that ride been like? Because some people never make it. You know what I mean? And obviously, I know you appreciate it, but to consistently go 6 years in a row with 3 different teams, you've won with all 3 teams. What's that experience like as just a man and a hooper at heart?
Man, that's one is unreal. Man, look, and you guys both know, you know, having the careers that you had and the battles and the playoffs. Like for me, one, it gives me chills, man, because I think about the journey that I've been on. I didn't play in the NBA for a long time. One, I have a real deep appreciation for the journey that I've been on because of how I became a coach in the NBA. You know, Mike Brown obviously gave me an opportunity.
My guy.
I wasn't a dude that was you know, had a long NBA career. I mean, I had a long basketball career,
Right.
played overseas, but I've always had this thing of, for me personally, man, I want to compete to win. That's just, it's in me. And you know, it doesn't always work out like that. Everybody
Right.
does, but when I got to the Lakers, you know, again, I was obviously at the end of Kobe's career, going into it. You know, we had our struggles with that team. But when I went to Cleveland, Mike got fired, and he asked me to come to Cleveland. You know, one of the things he said to me was, you know, one, we want you to mentor Kyrie. 2, that there's a chance that LeBron might come back to Cleveland. Who knows? So I went to Cleveland my first year. We were terrible, dog shit. You know, we just young team trying to figure it out. And then Bron came back the next year, and we went through that season, ups and downs. You know, K-Love was getting in already, the whole script, and we ended up making to the finals. Once we got there, for me, man, like walking into Oracle, going back home, I'm from the Bay.
crib. That's the
So
crib.
that first opportunity was just like, man, this is crazy. And when we got there, all I kept saying to myself was, man, hey, there's nothing else. There's no other feeling that you want. Now, look, it's not guaranteed, but I've always wanted to put myself in a position where every year I want to be part of a team that's trying to compete for a championship.
Right.
That's my mindset.
Competitor in you.
Man, and people, you know, some people say you're ring chasing. Well, you call it whatever you want. I want to win.
Right.
I'm not in this for money or, you know, whatever. I'm a purist to the game of basketball, so what opportunities can I put myself in to where we can compete for a championship? And, you know, went through that run in Cleveland, kind of like went through a spell where my time in Cleveland kind of came to an end. I was there for 5 years. And then it was like, what's next? So, you know, I knew Bron was leaving out of the East, and Toronto had been a team that we had been competing against, you know, for years in the playoffs. And I always kind of felt like the only reason why they couldn't make that hump was because Bron was just
Right.
every year they had to run into him at some point, and our teams. So when the whole thing shifted, you know, I played for Nick Nurse in Europe.
Oh, okay.
So Nick became the head coach, and I looked at Toronto and said, man, they have a team that can compete. And this was before Kawhi.
That's right.
I looked at DeMar. I loved his game. I love Kyle Lowry. I love some of the young players that they had. And I said, man, shoot, the East is wide open. There's a chance there. So when the opportunity presented itself, I said, hey, I'm going to Toronto. You know, Nick wanted me on his staff. Man, 2 days after I signed my contract and agreed to terms, I woke up, ESPN, Toronto Raptors have traded DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard. Bro, I was like, come on, man. Nah, like you said, man, I'm like, come on, man. Again, the highest just utmost respect for DeMar because he's a hooper.
Competitor, right?
And, I didn't know Kawhi, but when he came to Toronto and saw that he was healthy, I was like, look, man, we got a real chance, bro. You have a real chance. And so that year went the way it went. I have a 7-year-old son, lives here in LA. Me and Brian always kept in touch, so it worked out for me to come back to LA. And we go back to the finals again. I couldn't write this story.
You're right. It's been crazy.
The only thing I can do is, one, be grateful. Because like you said, it's not guaranteed. I have a lot of respect for a lot of coaches that have coached in the league for 30 years. Some have never been to the finals. Some have never been to a conference finals. So I don't look at this journey and say it's been a cakewalk. I'm just looking at it saying, man, I keep my head down every day, keep grinding, keep working, and just try to put yourself in the best position possible.
That's all you can do.
Compete.
We'll get back to detail about some of those teams, but let's get back to your journey. Oakland, California native.
Area.
Tell us about your upbringing and how basketball came into your life.
Oh man, I'm the youngest of I was the youngest of 7 siblings. My parents, old school. So my father was one of those dudes, man. He was one of the very first minority-owned business owners in Oakland, owned the construction business.
Okay.
So Pops was up at 3 o'clock in the morning going to work. And so for me, his whole process was, you're not gonna play basketball. You're gonna learn how to work hard.
Get
So
your craft.
in the summertime, where was I? 3 a.m., I was in the car with him going to work. So really, the moral of that part, he taught me how to work hard, for one. He gave me tremendous work ethic. But the whole upbringing of basketball was like an afterthought. Man, I had to sneak out. By the time I turned 16, 17, 18, I had to really sneak out and play because my father, one, I grew up in a very religious household. So I couldn't go out on Friday nights. I couldn't play basketball on Friday night, which, high school basketball, big game. So I couldn't really play high school basketball.
Really?
I didn't get a chance to play because of my religious beliefs at the time. So Friday night, I was at home. I didn't go to dance. I didn't go to none of that. So I had to find ways to sneak out and compete. How do I play AAU? Once my parents got me a car, it was over. I dip out and go where I want to go. But for me, basketball was just like I had to get away. I had to get away to play, and my love for the game was just at a high level. I grew up in a great family, but basketball wasn't something that was prioritized in my family. So I had to figure out ways to get around it. But as I grew, I got a scholarship. I went on to play professionally. My father became a big fan of what I was doing.
Right.
And so once that happened, that changed the whole trajectory of how I perceived the game and how I approached it. With my pops behind me, it was a whole different
story.
Different story for me.
Who were some of the influences you had growing up on the hoop court?
Man, Dr. J was my man. Growing up, man, back in those days, man, you get up on Sunday morning, turn on the TV. When I say turn on the TV, wasn't no remote. You get up and turn the TV on, who be on playing? Boston and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
ABC. So I grew up loving Doc, man. I grew up loving Jordan. Jordan was part of my era. But the guy that really inspired me as a young kid is Walter Davis. And you got to be a real hooper to know who that is. Walter Davis. Greyhound. See, I'm looking at both of y'all faces like...
I've heard the name. I'm just not familiar where, so talk to me about him.
Walter Davis, man, was like... He was just a smooth cat, jump shot, mid-range. So he was one of those dudes before that era of MJ. I used to call him the Greyhound. So I was a big fan of his, man, growing up. And then, Dr. J and MJ, man, kind of solidified it for me.
Greyhound.
And then I was a fan of Grant Hill, too.
G-Money.
G Hill was nasty.
G-Money.
What was the basketball culture like in the Bay Area when you was growing up?
Oh, it was nasty. Stak, J. Kidd, GP, B. Shaw, Greg Foster, Antonio Davis. So the hoop culture in the Bay was
sick.
It was pretty. Steve Nash was going to college there.
Yeah.
J.R. Ryder was out there?
J.R. Ryder. So the whole hoop culture, you think about L.A., you think about New York, you think about certain places, but the culture in the Bay was pretty deep, and it was some heavy hitters. The San Francisco Pro-Am used to be on point. Back in the day, Kezar was a small, sweaty gym. Ray tell you about it, man.
I've been up in there.
Yeah, you know,
we won a couple championships.
Brady got cooked in there a little bit. Ray was in there getting cooked. He say never.
Oh man, so
But those were legend. But talk to the level of competition that those Keys are games, because those were NBA level summer league games.
bruh, the Warriors had a team in the pro-am.
Mm-hmm.
They had a team, like their rookies, their young players. They would send them over there to play twice a week. And so the league was full of NBA players. It was full of European, like high-level Europe players would come home. And it was ultra competitive, man. So as a young boy, 17, 18, 19, 20, you had to wait your turn to get on the court. You were one of those teams, you might not play. You know, so you sit on the bench, you watching J Kidd, you watching GP, you watching these dudes play, saying, man, can I get some burn? It was a tough get up for the summer league.
When did you know that you wanted to pursue playing basketball in college?
The first time somebody offered me a scholarship, I wasn't sure, because like I said, I didn't play high school basketball. I played maybe 5 games of high school basketball. I went to junior college, and that was when I really had the opportunity to figure out if I could play. I knew I could play, but could I play organized basketball? So I went to Skyline Community College, and ended up, making first team All-State.
Where's Skyline?
San Francisco.
San
Bruno.
Okay, San Bruno.
Right? And then all these scholarship offers started coming. I consider myself a late bloomer with the game. But the first time I got a scholarship offer, I was like, okay, it's real now. And so I really started taking it more serious. And I was just like, man, let me pick one of these schools. Let me figure out when I ended up going to Hawaii, but it was just an opportunity of like, all right, well, let me see what I can do with it.
Well, you had an interesting story on why you went to Hawaii. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, no, you didn't bring that up.
We love Hawaii.
Oh, man. So the crazy part about it at the time, I was pretty close to going to Cal Berkeley. J Kidd and Lamont Murray were playing there. And I was at the JUCO across the way, and Cal was showing heavy signs of interest, and I was ready to commit. So one of my boys, man, was playing JUCO with me, didn't have a scholarship opportunity. Hawaii was like recruiting me super heavy. So they wanted me to take my visit. Hawaii was like, look, you take a visit, you got to commit. We don't just fly people out here. So I said no to that. But I did tell him, I said, look, my boy don't have a scholarship. So if you guys give him a scholarship, I'll come to Hawaii.
That's dope.
I was bluffing.
Oh, and they did.
I was bluffing to get him off the trail.
Right.
And so they were like, well, we're going to get some film on him. They got the film, and they signed him first.
Wow.
They signed him first.
I'll make you sign.
Hold on. Now, let me tell you the real cold part about it, Stak. I tried to back out of it. My father got wind of it, and as old school as it is, said, no, sir. You gave these people your word, you're going to Hawaii.
I stand on it.
Stand on it. Man, that was one of the hardest lessons for me because I didn't want to do it. I tried to back out of it, and I really was just like, nah, I'm not going to call the coach. Coach came to my house, was sitting on the living room couch with my father when I came home one day and was like, Pops, like, hey, you going to sign that scholarship?
You knew it was over. You knew
it
you
was a
going.
wrap. I was like, man, what are you doing in my house?
Right.
It was a wrap.
So you were about to go to Cal with J Kidd and Lamont Murray and end up in Hawaii.
Ended up in Hawaii. They gave my boy a scholarship. We both went to school.
That's dope, though. Keep it 100.
Yeah,
obviously,
man,
you got your man in school, and that really happened, so that's dope that shit happened.
What the biggest thing for me, though, is it taught me, don't open your mouth. Don't say stuff that you're not going to follow through on, because my father really, he held me to the fire on that one, man.
So you end up choosing Hawaii. Your dad said you're going to honor your word. You go out there and play. How was that experience?
That was dope.
You had a good time, though.
Yeah, man. It was a culture shock for me. So you go to Hawaii, people don't really understand like the Asian culture, the Samoan and Polynesian culture.
And don't mix them two up neither. It's a problem.
Man, listen. It was a good culture shock, but it was a culture shock. And then just being on the island, you can't go anywhere. You drive around the island in 3 hours and you back at the school. But that part was cool for me because of just the warm weather. You wake up and go to school every day with shorts on. You wake up, go on campus, females got bikinis on. It was a good experience, man. No complaining.
What you got there?
None.
So 95 draft, you happen to go undrafted, but that's a hell of a draft. Obviously, KG just inducted to the Hall of Fame. Joe Smith, McDyess, Sheed, Stoudemire, Mike Finley, Brent Barry. Man, hell of a draft. So, pick up basketball late, junior college, Hawaii, hopes to make the NBA. You don't get drafted. What's your immediate mindset after you don't get drafted?
Man, I didn't even know, Matt. I had no clue. Really, it was just like I want to play basketball, but I didn't know what the next steps were. You know, it wasn't like I had a bunch of agents knocking down my door. So for me, B. Shaw was kind of crucial. You know, Keith Jennings, Mister, he was crucial. You know, Mully and Tim Hardaway, them dudes were really crucial to like being in the community. Mully was a hooper; he would play anywhere. Hardaway would play anywhere, and Keith Jennings was on the Warrior squad, and he like took me and some of my friends in, and we would hoop with him in the off season. And he was the one that was really like, yo, young fella, you have some talent. You can play at the next level if you really apply yourself. So when I got out of school, all I did was work out with him as much as I could. Work out with him, stayed in the gym. And the opportunity that really changed everything, we had open run at Club One, downtown Oakland. You guys play for the Warriors. You remember Club One? That used to be serious run. So we were in there hooping one day, and B. Shaw came in. And B. Shaw, we knew each other, but we didn't know each other too well. But the run was so crazy that I was just trying to go at everybody's head. Anybody stepped in the court, I was trying to go at your head. So B. Shaw stepped on, and I hate to tell this story, B, but, I tried to go at B's head the whole game.
You got a big head, too.
Yeah, we ran him off the floor.
Did you?
And then I went and sat down. And so
After you won.
after we won, I went and sat down, so I'm done playing. So B's man, Glenn Graham, Glenn was like a trainer. He said, look, man, I need to take you. I need to work you out. Let me build you. Let me put you in touch with some agents. And that just opened up the door for me.
Dope.
That year was a lockout. That year was a lockout. So the Warriors had
99.
They had a free agent camp. And they had the lockout ended. Said, look, we're going to invite 20 local dudes, come to the camp.
That's what's up.
And we got 2 spots to go to training camp. Man, I went to that camp. Feast or famine. Bruh, it was like, let me go in here and show these people I can play.
That's how I go.
And I was one of the 2 guys that got selected to go to free agent camp. And it was just, once I stepped into that camp, man, Spree took me in. Like
So who was on that team? that year?
Sprewell, Tim Hardaway, Chris Mullen, Ronnie Cycli, B.J. Armstrong had just got traded to the Warriors. Mark Price was there. So it was a team full of vets.
That
Jerome
wasn't the year
Kersey.
was that the year that Spree put his hands on old boy?
No, that was the year after that.
Oh, okay.
That
You
was the
missed
next
it.
year. I missed it. But that opportunity, like really Spree took me in, Hardaway took me in, man, and they was like, just putting the battery in my palate. Young fella, man, you can do something. You got to continue to work, get in the weight room. And once I saw that piece right there just kind of took off for me.
Right.
I stayed with the Warriors for a small part of the season, and I went and played in the CBA. And once I got to the CBA, I just took off. Had a great season, made the all-rookie team. And then the next year I came back and went to the Portland Trail Blazers. Was in camp with them and spent part of the season there. And then after that, I was just like, man, I just want to hoop now.
Don't care where.
I don't
wanna
care.
play.
So now I want to hoop. And my agent was like, listen, man, there's a lot of teams in Europe that pay great money, and they want your services. And I was like, all right, man, I did the NBA. I made it. Felt like I made it. I accomplished that. Now I want to hoop. What does that mean for me? So I went to Europe and never came back. I spent 8 years in Europe, man. I traveled the world. I went to France, Italy, Germany, Israel, Spain, England, Australia.
Best
Had it.
stop.
Australia by far.
Was it
Australia
Yeah, I
by
love
far.
Australia.
That's
basketball or just life in general?
Everything.
Okay.
the hoop scene down there is amazing.
Where were you? Melbourne, Sydney?
I was in Melbourne for 1 year and Sydney for 2.
Yep.
Loved it. Like I still go back. I got deep roots in Australia, man. But the league down there it's in the summertime.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
English speaking country.
Yep.
And they try to their whole design of the NBL is off the NBA. So they got a TV show, they got TV games. It was a dope experience, man, to be able to travel around the world and kind of, have a career playing basketball. It diversified me, man. That was the best thing that could happen to me.
You had a lot of game though. Just because you didn't have a long career, I mean, like people tell stories about you back in the Bay. Like Phil could hoop. You know what I mean? And that was always the word. I mean, we were talking about you earlier with Rays. It's like, nah, Phil, the summer league was loaded, but if you had Phil on your team, you had a chance. I don't give a fuck how many other pros was on the other team. Like you had a chance. So now
Appreciate the gas,
yeah,
right?
you could definitely hoop, but obviously traveling the world. Did you see any players that really like stood out to you, like overseas legends, any ones that became
Oh,
legends
man.
or guys you played against?
When I was in France, Tony Parker he was tiny, little dude.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Parker, Petrius,
No, MP.
cool coach.
Jack had MP gangbanging, fresh out of France.
My boy, Air France.
Air
Yeah, man.
Australia. Andrew Gaze.
Gaze, I played with Andrew
Shane
Gaze.
Hill?
So played with Andrew Gaze, played against Shane Hill.
Yep.
You know, Leonard Copeland, man, bro, I've seen some of those younger dudes when they were real young.
Mm-hmm.
But like TP was the one. When I saw him, he was like 16, 17 years old, and he was running around shooting flow. He was running just fast. And just to see him years later come into the NBA, see Kukoc, see Peach, you know, these dudes were young.
Mm-hmm.
They were young kids when I was over there, man. So it was, you know, and I had a chance to play in some good countries, some really good teams, some EuroLeague teams and things of that where they played at a high level. And it wasn't a slouch. People have the wrong conception of what European basketball is about.
Right.
It's tough over there. The problem, you know, sometimes the European players come here and it's a hard translation. It's a different style of play, right? You go to Europe, some Americans have a hard time translating to where they play over there. It's a tough translation, but I think that was the best thing that could have happened to me for my career.
Right.
In '97, I had to go to Australia, and I played for the Sydney Kings.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about Andrew Gaze. This was '97, Matt. He's shooting from half court.
Bruh.
I'm talking about head full of gray hair.
Bucket.
But this man was unreal. In Australia, am I lying?
Hey, Stak.
He was unreal. Him and Shane Hill was some of the best shooters I've seen in my life.
Yes, sir.
And I seen that in Australia, so I can
Yes,
attest
sir.
to that, man. So
Bro, they
he
were
was
a
out
problem.
there. Yep.
No gas. You know, no gas. Over there, they were playing the way Steph and those guys,
Yeah,
like
back
bro,
then.
you had to, they cross half court, you
guard 'em.
better pick them up.
Letting it go.
And everything, their teams were predicated around making sure they get shots off.
8 years overseas, you said. When did coaching come into the picture for you?
Man, I didn't ever think I was gonna be a coach.
Honestly, let's start. Hold on, let me take it back. When did, because you started the training space, right?
Let's start
the training space, and then we'll transition. So when did, how
Yeah.
how did you go from a player right to trainer?
Well, basically, he started giving people bags. See, what it is a lot of guys play basketball, but they don't have nothing in their bag. So they got bags, so they went to field to fill their bags up. You feel me? Go ahead, Coach. Go ahead, OG.
Oh man, you know, when I was in Australia, I had some parents of the kids saying, you know, our kids are like big fans. Would you train them? You know, could you do some workouts with them? And I started doing like workouts with some of the kids. I pull out a garbage can, send them through some drills. Man, every time I left the gym, man, I just felt renewed. Like it was a whole different sense of purpose. Like I got to a point to where during the season, on all my off days, I was trying to train kids. Like I would leave the gym, man, and felt like I did something. I had never felt like that before. It was a totally different feeling for me. So when I retired, you know, I was just like, man, my last year in Australia, I was really just gonna take a year off because I had played in Europe for 8 years. My parents were getting older. You know, when you play over there, you're gone for 10 months. So I spent no time in the States. So let me take a year off and spend some time with the family. And I was gonna go back to my team. You know, we had already set up a multi-year deal for me to come back. I took that year off, man. It was like, I'm done. I'm not going back to play.
What age are you at this point?
I was 31.
Okay.
I was young. You know, I was 31, and I was just like, I'm cool. I'm done. I got to a place where I knew I was not mentally in that space of what? Taking care of your body, having to lock in, watch what you eat. I said, man, if I'm not gonna be able to do it at the best of my ability, then I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm finished. And so I walked away from it and I was like, all right, what's next? And I went into real estate for like a year, just some investment, educated myself in real estate and got with a dude, one of my partners, and started buying properties. And I was like, after about a year, I was like, nah, this is not for me. I felt like I was missing something. I was missing the game. Man, me and Tony Delk used to work out together.
TD.
This is how my career in player development kind of started. You know, me and TD used to work out, hoop together. Again, he was with the Warriors. And when I retired, you know, TD was like, man, just, you know, let's get some workouts in. I was like, man, I'm done hooping. He's like, no, you know, he was living in Phoenix at the time. He's like, you know, come down here and, you know, let's get some work in. Put me through some workouts. And I went and spent a week with TD. And, man, we got some great work in. I went home And TD was like, look, we got to do this for the rest of the summer. So I would go to Phoenix from Sunday to Thursday, go back to the Bay. Sunday to Thursday, go back to the Bay. And every week, TD had more dudes show up to the gym. Eddie House, you know, I pretty much raised Eddie House. Sean Marion started coming. At the time, you know, Stackhouse, I mean, not Stackhouse, but Stoudemire was in Phoenix. All these dudes started coming to the gym. And I was just figuring out how to work these dudes out, work with them. And TD was like, listen, bro, you have a knack for this. The way you see the game and the way you dissecting your drills and all that stuff, bro, you need to seriously consider jumping to this business. And at that time, this was 2003. Basketball industry was nil. There was a few dudes. Gus Armstead. Gus is your mentor, my mentor. Gus was one of the very few people, right, that was doing it. And he was doing it for years, Matt, right? So you remember I used to go to the gym. I said, man, let me go down here and learn from Gus. And Gus took me in, let me be in the gym. He gave me a voice. And at that point, I knew. I said, man, this is what I want to do. And so I just laid down a foundation. I started a business. My very first client, true client, was a kid who lived in Marin. You from the Bay? I mean, you from the area. Marin is
way out there.
Way out there, Stak. And at this time, I was living in El Dorado Hills.
Oh, that's a push.
So it was an hour and 45-minute drive.
Ain't Pac from Marin City?
Huh?
Marin County, yeah.
Marin County.
Yeah.
Say where he got his game from.
Yeah.
One of my first kids, I could charge this kid $25, man.
For all that.
I would drive an hour and 45 minutes. It cost more
to get there, that's what I'm saying.
It cost more to put gas in my car. I charged that kid $25. And little did I know, I didn't know much about the Marin area. That's one of the most affluent counties in the country.
Got some bread out there.
Okay, but yeah, I didn't really understand that. I trained this kid, and this kid became one of the best players in the county. It opened up the floodgates. Next thing you know, I'm training high schools, I'm training AAU programs. So I went from one kid at $25 an hour to about 50 kids in about a 2-month span. And I was probably charging these kids $50 a session.
Taking the trip
Still
from
taking the trip.
Ooh, that's a push.
But see, what people don't understand, man, like my journey in this business, man, it would over a 13-year span, fellas, I did this for 13 years. And the way it built, you know, it started with that one kid. I would be in Marin. I would be at Stanford. I would be at UC Davis. I would be at St. Mary's. I would be at Cal Berkeley. I had all these different pockets to where on any given day during the week, I'd be driving 500 miles to get into different gyms. The whip was the office. Put my bags, for my cones. But it really got to a point where that was it for me, man. I was in the gym 14 hours a day, training kids. And then it eventually started bleeding into NBA players, college players, European players. And it became a full-blown business for me over 13 years. And that was like my calling. I feel like to this day, sitting here on this couch, that's what I put on this earth to do, is to teach the game of basketball and try to inspire people through that channel. It's real for me.
So, I mean, you're one of the best, or you were, you still are, but obviously you have a bigger title now, but you're one of the best trainers in the game. You said earlier that coaching never even came to mind. So how did that transition from training to coaching happen?
Man, you know, Matt, when I started, I had a lot of bad coaches myself that really deprived me confidence-wise. Like, you know, we've all had coaches that try to tear you down. And I went into the business of wanting to train young athletes to help build their confidence. You know, give them a platform to say, look, this is what you can do. Put in the hard work, but you can, you know, let me give you some confidence. I started working with St. Mary's College. And the first thing I said to myself was, look, I'm going to go in this industry. I want to be one of the best to ever do it. That was my mindset. So I started training St. Mary's College. Randy Bennett and Mike Brown were college roommates.
Small world.
You know, so Lloyd Pierce would do some workouts. This is how Lloyd Pierce started NBA. He went to Cleveland. Randy sent him to Cleveland to go work with Mike in the summertime, and then Lloyd Pierce ended up on the coaching staff. So Mike went through that whole thing, and then he got hired by the Lakers. And I was coaching St. Mary's. I mean, not coaching, but training their players. And Randy was like, listen, man, you have to take this job. And at the time, my business was booming. Like, my training business was booming. I worked when I want, didn't work when I didn't want. I had clients all over the place. And I was just like, nah, I'm not interested.
You took a pay cut to go to the Lakers?
I did. But here's the deal. man, I got to a point where I was like, listen, you say you want to be one of the best in the industry, then you have to see what that looks like. In order to see what that look like, you have to work with the best. The opportunity to work with Kobe was the deciding factor for me. That was it. That pushed me over the edge to say, man, you have to take this opportunity. Forget about the money. Forget about what you're leaving behind. You can always go back to it. That was 10 years ago.
Ain't been back.
Bruh.
Well, low-key, summertime, you still do it. But.
Yeah. You know, and now it's more out of just passion.
Right.
But that decision, I wanted to test myself. I wanted to see if, you know, the things that I'm trying to teach and the pieces of the game that I'm trying to help people with, is it valid? Is it valid? Yeah, you know, I know I work with a lot of NBA players, but can you help somebody like that? Or how do you help someone like that?
Right.
Is the question, you know, and it wasn't even so much, you know, how do you impact? Mike hired me and said, look, you got to figure out how to build a relationship with Kobe. That's what he told me, Matt.
Good luck.
You know,
I was there.
So, Matt, you were there. I mean,
there.
you know, and for me, it was just the opportunity itself.
Right.
Just to get there and learn and figure out what that looks like. That was what pushed me into. And again, I didn't know anything about coaching. You remember our first day of training camp? Matt, that first day when the lockout ended?
Oh, yeah.
Bro, I thought my head was going to explode. Stak, all the information, that was the first time I had been in that environment of understanding offensive breakdown. Mike Brown is a
detailed like a motherfucker, boy.
Defense was good too.
And so I was sitting on the sideline that day while he was just walking through. Man, I was just like, man, what is this?
And that was our transition from Fields last year having cancer to Mike Brown the very next year. So, and Mike and Phil are night and day. You know what I mean? So this Laker team has an attitude of, you know, coming off 2 championships we lost, Phil retired, then Mike Brown came that next year, but it was just like night and day in their philosophies and their approach. So it took a minute for motherfuckers to really buy into what the game plan was. But more than that, what was it like actually trying to befriend, teach, become one with Kobe?
Well, you know, I looked at it like this though, man. I had to try to do that with all you guys because I didn't, you know, I knew you a little bit briefly, but how do you come into a team environment and understand each individual player and figure out how you can help them or work with them? Man, I think the Kobe thing was B. Shaw had told me. I called B. Shaw when I took the job.
Yeah, shout out B. Shaw. That's the ultimate big homie.
Listen, man, B was crucial. He said, Phil, I'm going to tell you just like this. Do not let him punk you. No matter what, do not let him punk you. You stand up for yourself. He going to test you. And so I was like, all right, cool. I don't really know what that looks like. But I got the job. I didn't really speak to Kobe. You know, I did my job. I got to the gym early, got on the floor and did my work with the players I was working with. And there was a couple of days where Kobe would come out. He'd come out of the training room, he'd sit on a chair and watch. He'd watch me and he'd go back in the room. And nothing was said of it. And really didn't develop a relationship with him until a couple weeks later. You know, when he hit me one day on text and was like, yo, man, just meet me at the gym. You know, I've told this story a few times, but, you know, he was meet me at the gym. And I was like, all right, bet, let's go. And so, I showed up at the gym that night. And he was like, meet me at the gym at 5:45. And you know what that means. I showed up that night thinking we was going to work, waiting for this dude.
5:45 in the morning.
Bruh, before the sun
he was not
comes
there.
up.
So I was like, okay, this is what we on? I didn't say nothing. I went to practice the next morning. You know, showed up early, 7:30, practiced at 10. Man, that man came out giving me hell. Hey, bro, yelling, what the fuck you doing, man? Wait, you ain't showing up for work? I was like, man, I was here. You know, he was, no, man, not 4:45 p.m. I meant this morning. And so that for me,
fucked you up.
It
Before the sun came up.
It messed me up because I was like, damn, okay. And after that, you know, the relationship started. And, you know, the first question I asked him was, man, what can I help you with? You know, I'm looking at this dude like, man, I'm here to learn from you. You know, it's kind of thing. And he was just like, man, I want to get better with my ball handling. I didn't even get better with my ball handling, sprinkle some stuff into my footwork. And that was just how it started, man. You know, gave him some things on the ball handling. And he was the type of dude that was like, look, I'm going to take what I need and leave the rest. And he told me exactly what he wanted. And it was at that point, it was up to me to put it together and help him as best I could. But that was that was the ultimate challenge for me. And to be able to build a relationship with him, you know how it is, man. It was just
break down that wall. It ain't easy,
bro. And it really is just just try to be myself, and be as organic with it as I could.
How did you and Pedro bond when the Lakers?
This one right here, me and Matt was straight, bro.
It's already cool.
Bro, we was already
he used to come up to Sac, so my trainer was his mentor. So I would see Phil around. Like I said, we didn't know each other great, but we had seen each other. So once I see him, I was like, oh, what's up? And then this, like I said, this is the ultimate workout dude. So I'm just like, fuck, let me get with Phil and see what I could do. So
My son with him now.
Yeah, Rob, hey, get in line. I've been trying to get the twins. I'm trying to get the twins with him for a minute now. Boys busy winning rings.
Man, we gonna get it. We gonna get it, bro. We gonna get it for sure this summer.
Yeah, definitely. So from the Lakers, you head to the Cavs. So you go from Kobe to Kyrie at the time, and then LeBron ends up joining. So what was that transition like going from LA to Cleveland?
It was tough. It was tough on just a lot of different reasons, right? Again, my first opportunity to come into the league as a coach was like, I'm going to coach at the Lakers, and so Cleveland it's just like, man, what am I going to Cleveland for? And really, I had to really start to shift and understand what the business was about, right? So Mike got fired, D'Antoni came in, and the Lakers were going through a phase of uncertainty, those few years. It was just, what are they going to do? And so I give Mitch Kupchak a lot of props because he called me into his office one day and said, look, the Cavs have called and they're interested in interviewing you, and I really think you ought to look at this opportunity. We don't know what's going to happen here. He couldn't have said that.
Just let it play out.
He could have just let it play out.
Right.
He said, look, I think you ought to really seriously consider this opportunity if they want you. And I went, did the interview, and Mike offered me the job. And I think the thing that kind of sold me on it was I didn't know Kyrie. I didn't know the kid from hell. And I hadn't really studied his game. But when I started watching film on him, I was like, yeah, I want to work with this. I want to work with this kid, man. And Mike had already put it out there. That's what we want you here for. It was that was probably the best move I made in my career, and making that decision to go and do it, because again, it helped me validate just my thought process on how to train and how to help players get better. It validated it. And Cole was instrumental in that.
I was about to say, you were instrumental in getting Kyrie and Kobe together. Tell us about how that happened.
Yeah, man, Kai was slippery, bruh. He was, he was slippery. When I first got to Cleveland, man, Kai tried to hit me with the bat phone number and, not answer the calls. He was slippery, and rightfully so. He didn't know me.
He didn't know me. And that's how young players are.
Yeah, and B. Scott was a guy who just got fired. So he was angry. Here we come in. He's like, man, I don't know you. I did one workout with Kyrie and then he disappeared, right? Gave me some number that he never checked. So I got through this process. I was like, all right, look, I'm going to have to reach this dude another way. I knew he respected Cole, and Cole really liked his game. And so I just hit Cole one day. I said, look, man, I need you to mentor this kid. Like, I really need you to go, and if you're okay with it, like, give him some energy. And he was like, bet, I got you. I like it. And I told Kai, I said, listen, we finally sat down and talked, and I had to fly to Miami to talk to this dude to, like, listen, man, I don't want nothing from you. I don't need nothing from you except for you to learn how to work. I want you to pick up the phone and call Kobe. He did, and they went off to the races. And it just, you saw a mind shift.
That's dope.
You saw a shift. Cole really took him in, and Kai, man, just bought into the work. And that changed his whole approach to the game, and just understand how to take care of his body, right? Off the court, being in the weight room, taking care of it so he doesn't be as injured as much. But then challenging him to understand what the work means for your game. And once he saw that, it was over. He just took it to a whole nother level.
He got the best field bag. He got
Nah, Stak, I can't even let it go down like that.
God gave him that bag?
Kyrie got a bag of his own.
Oh, no question.
Now what we did was fine tune his bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, to where he started really locking in on details of his footwork, of his balance, on how to get guys off to where you can get to a spot and get to your mid-range, how to be a better finisher, how to pull up at the three. Once he really honed in on the small details, man, bruh, he one of the coldest, man. Listen, I'm
You just coached the best.
Bruh,
My boy.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he is probably one of the most skilled dudes to ever play this game.
No question.
Agreed.
We say that all the time.
Agreed.
Like
Total
from a
package.
skill standpoint.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Bruh.
Left, right.
He scored all 3 levels. Right?
Yep.
Most guys, they can do it, but he scores.
And he's little to be on the post getting buckets, too.
Bruh.
He definitely gets buckets on the
He will
post.
post you,
Mm-hmm.
shoot the 3, shoot the mid-range. Like you said, Stak, he going left, right. Yeah, man, he's
Special.
and he was just missing one thing.
The work ethic.
He was missing the work ethic, and then, as a young player, what do you miss? Then you miss another alpha,
OG.
like somebody that can really kind of help you.
King James.
Bring the
Go.
best out you.
Man, let
That
me
guy.
take you to
Right.
help you go to another level.
So what was it like? There was whispers it could have possibly happened. When it actually happened, LeBron coming back to Cleveland, what was your thought process and how excited were you to kind of, okay, so now we got Bron for Kyrie and let's see what we could do.
Man, that changed the whole organization overnight, right? We went from, being a young team to trying to figure out how to win games to now you catapulted into
The finals.
the finals. Like, okay,
The finals.
the whole projection is, hey, man, Cleveland's on top.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I didn't know Bron. I had no relationship with him whatsoever. And, it was just another one of those things to figure out a way to integrate a relationship. And for me, the common denominator out of all of those dudes, everybody has always been what? Through the work, on the floor. That's it, right? Because that's my number one thing. It's just, let's get the work in. The rest of it, the relationships will be built because you're going to understand who I am. I'm going to get to know who you are.
Respect it.
But it's through the work, nothing else.
Right.
And Bron was the same, man. His first day back to Cleveland, I sat down and asked him, I said, man, where areas you want to improve, where you want to get better? How can I help assist you in that process? And Bron was just like, man, I'm footwork, ball handling, post-ups. I want to get better at everything. And I would say this to this day, man, for somebody of his caliber, that man is a student of the game and he wants to be coached. Like, he wants to be uncomfortable to continue to get better every day, even to this point.
So what was it like? I mean, you as a coach being there, obviously on the outside looking in, you hear, that there was some headbutting with Kyrie and LeBron. As a coach and as someone who worked closely with both of them, what did you see? Because obviously, like, you always hear shit from the outside, but I've been in locker rooms where I hear stuff like, that shit ain't even close to what's going on. So from being on the inside, what did you see between that dynamic?
Man, you know how the media always try to portray something that's not there. You have you have two dudes that are playing at a high level. One, Bron came in with the mindset of trying to help and adjust to Kyrie. Like, look, man, dude, you dynamic. I need to figure out how to play with you, and we need to figure out how to play together. There was no issues. Like, it's normal stuff.
Right.
You go through a season, right? Dudes trying to figure out how to play with each other. They didn't have any issues. None. And I think what happened in the media is whatever, they painted that picture and, storylines are ran.
Right.
People can flip it any way you want. But them two got along, man. Were they best friends? No. They weren't best friends.
Don't have to be.
But they got along, right? And there was a relationship there, obviously. The relationship was there. We were winning.
Right.
You guys have seen enough of it where two guys that don't get along, that just spills over to the court.
Right.
It don't go that way.
You don't win.
Man, that's one of the most dynamic duos, man,
Agreed.
ever put together.
Agreed.
They were as dynamic and different to complement
Right.
each other's games, right? And I just think Kai is one of those dudes, man. He misunderstood. A lot of people don't really know him and understand him.
We've been that way.
I mean, a lot of players get that rap when people don't actually get to know who you guys are.
We'll take the time. Like,
That's
it's
part of
funny
it,
you
too.
said that because, like I said, I didn't take the time to get to know Kyrie, and I made some misconceptions. And like I said, I'm trying to amend to that now and fix that. Because, like I said, for him to love him, for Cove to love him, for Michelle to love him, like, there's got to be something special about this dude.
That's
You
my
know what I
family,
mean? There's
man.
something special about him.
Good
So,
dude. And I think
yeah.
Kai is he won the ultimate competitor too. And you know how people sometimes they grow and they want to figure out if they can do things on their own.
Right.
That's normal. That's normal. Man, I appreciate you, big bro.
Challenging
Right?
yourself.
Right.
Now, I want to find out I want to find out what kind of dude I am.
Leader I could be, right?
Yeah.
So your first run, LeBron comes back 15. You guys make a run to the finals. Unfortunately, Kai and K-Love aren't there. You guys get beat by the Warriors. What kind of a learning experience was it getting there, not being at full strength, but still getting there?
Man, all about competing, really. Man, it was really, we had Matthew Dellavedova, tough kid. You know, we had J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert. Tristan was growing. We had Timothy Mozgov. Our team, you know, Kyrie and K-Love, huge parts of it, injured. Man, we just thugged it out, man.
Next man up.
That was really the mentality. Tell you, man, people don't even understand. Matthew Dellavedova was on IVs after every game because he was giving everything he had on the floor. Like, he was literally on IVs to rejolt his system after every game, bro. People don't even know that. Like, and for us to go shorthanded, I mean, at one point in that series, we were up 2-1.
Yep.
We went back to Cleveland. We were up 2-1. I mean, we were competing, but, you know, just shorthanded.
Right.
And I think it taught us really about, one, when you get there, it's not guaranteed, and you don't know.
Right.
You don't know if you're gonna make it back. And so that whole next season, man, health was important. You know, you gotta two things. You gotta have a little bit of luck. And you gotta have some health.
Absolutely.
People think it's all talent. No, luck and health play a big part of championship runs, man. They do. And unfortunately, sometimes it's either on your team or it's against you. That's a cold part of the game.
Right. Because, I mean, the Warriors got a little taste of that the following year. So in 16, Coach Black gets dismissed. T. Lue takes over. You guys are down 3-1. Draymond gets suspended. You guys make an amazing this is the 73-9 team, going for the greatest team of all time, and you guys stuck a fork in that. Down 3-1, Draymond gets suspended. You guys make a comeback. What was that experience like, game by game, being down 3-1? What was that locker room and vibe like?
Man, that's a one-game, singular focus. After game 5? Game 4, 3-1. After game 4 in Cleveland, the locker room was calm. You know, look, T. Lue and Bron were at the catalyst of that. Their mindset was like, man, if you guys don't believe that we can go to Oakland and win this next game, do not get on the plane. That's our focus. We ain't thinking about nothing else. We got one game to win. And that was the attitude really coming out of the locker room. We left that night. Everybody got on the plane. It was a business trip. They were locked in. Them dudes were locked in just to the moment of, we got to win this game tonight. And Kyrie and Brown went out there and put on a show, boy. 40-40, that was nasty, man.
40-40.
In the finals.
Bro, it was nasty. And they were just tit for tat.
Take a turn.
Just tit for tat. It was, and the team really just, again, the part of Draymond being kicked out of that, suspended for that next game, it was just like, no matter what, we have to go here with the purpose to win the game. Now, does that help the situation? Absolutely. Draymond, man, he impacts the game the way he does. But regardless, we got to go win the game.
Yep.
So y'all put your shoes on, get your hard hats on, man. Let's go out here and play. And it was just like one game at a time, man. That's really, it's hard. You know, we've all been in that situation, right?
No.
Close out games and whatnot.
Win and go home. So you guys were able to walk them down, win a championship, first championship in 52 years for Cleveland sports. What was that experience like to win it in that fashion against, like I said, the Warriors were 73-9 that year? Man,
there's so many storylines. I'm from the Bay. Bron from Cleveland. To be able for Bron to come back home and accomplish that, we're the only team in history to come back in the finals 3-1. There's so many different storylines. Man, the city of Cleveland was lit, man. Cleveland was lit. People talk about Cleveland, amazing city. And my time there was amazing. But that city and the whole state was lit. Like, if you see the pictures, man, it was a couple million.
J.R. Smith didn't wear a shirt for like a month.
Hey, rightfully so.
Right.
Rightfully so, man. That's the pinnacle right there.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, Cleveland was that experience to this day, that's, to me, that's still the most memorable one for me, for just how we had to do it.
The process.
Yeah.
So you guys obviously make it back, run into the Warriors again. KD jumps ship and goes to Golden State. What was it like playing against those Warrior teams with all that? We were talking about it earlier with how tough it was chasing Steph around last night, but add KD to that mix, add Clay to that mix, and all them boys was hitting on all cylinders. What was it like going up against those Warrior teams?
Man, you just shake your head, man.
He said you
I
shake
mean,
your
bruh,
head.
it's they were game planning for them. You know, I give T. Lue a lot of credit, man. Our coaching staff, like T. Lue was very, very savvy in some of his approaches of trying to slow them down. You ain't gonna, you
Can't
got
stop them.
what are you gonna do? You have to try to slow them down, and it's just, you know, you got three-headed monster, and it's legit. Man, we just try to compete as best we could. You know, you try to put yourself in a position where, one, you have to try to make them work on the defensive end. But really, I mean, what can you do with that? Man, those were some tough battles against a team that just had a lot of firepower. But the thing to me that people don't talk about enough, yes, those three dudes are who they are, but what really made them great were the freaking players around them, the role players.
And they have vets,
Bruh.
smart vets.
Dudes really bought into their roles, and they did them roles at a high level. That's what made them three dudes so dynamic and even harder to guard, because the other dudes on the floor,
So smart.
man, they were smart. They knew what they were doing. They knew what to play. They knew when to try to score. Iguodala, you know, Livingston, Barbosa,
David West.
you know, David West, Bogut, you know, David Lee. Bro, I mean, all of these dudes were just cerebral players, and it's just people didn't give enough credit to the supporting cast that they had.
So your time in Cleveland comes to an end. You end up going to Toronto. You told us how you got there. What was it like getting to work with Kyle Lowry and Kawhi, and on the build up to that finals run?
Yeah, man, Toronto was a dope experience, man. That's a dope city. Great people, good vibes, man. Great city.
I got a couple kids up there.
I thought I did, but it didn't check out.
Yo, wow, man. I think I had a misconception of Kyle Lowry. You know, just playing against him all the years, he's an irritant, right? And I hated coaching against him because he messed with the game. He know how to mess with the game. CP, those dudes, man, they know how to manipulate the game.
Guys,
Super smart. And so playing against him all those years, I was just like, man, this dude get on my nerves. But once I got to Toronto and was actually in the gym with him and saw what his process was about every day,
Grinder.
what? Straight pro. Like pro. Every day, man. On it. He competes every night. He leaves it on the floor for his teammates. And just a stand-up dude. Like an incredible dude off the court as well. So my respect for him, man, is at a high level. Again, I didn't know Kawhi. Didn't know Kawhi from Adam. They never had a relationship with him. And he is not what people think. You know, just from the sense of his personality, Kawhi got a little bit of comedian in him, man.
I heard he talks and jokes and all that shit.
What?
You just got to be around.
Listen, he an LA dude.
Yeah.
He is an LA dude.
Yep.
Like through and through. And when you're around him, you know, and you get to know him, oh man, he is not what people think, bro. But Kawhi is cut from the same cloth as Kobe, as Bron, as MJ. Like he cut from that cloth in the sense that his work, man, the first time we worked out together, you know, after the trade and stuff cleared, you know, I reached out to him and said, man, I'm just excited to, you know, get with you and try to build. And he was like, when you coming to San Diego? And we got to San Diego and we got in the gym and he just said, look, coach, I'm just tell you like this. I like the gym quiet. I don't like people in the gym. I like to get my work in. That set the tone.
Right there.
Right there. Set the tone. And he is just one of those dudes that like really just about getting better. You know, he's like, yo, I want to get with Kobe. You know, when can we get with Kobe? I'm trying to get that process. So we went down and spent some time with Kobe and he was always, look, man, I want to figure out this post-up stuff. I want to get my footwork right. I want to get my handles right. You know, I want to be able to shake dudes free and create. And he was just really one of them dudes, man, that just a student of the game. You know, people think he's not a leader. Leadership comes in different ways, right? It's not always vocal.
Lead by example.
He shows up. No, he's not perfect, but he shows up and he works. He's a worker. He is in the gym working on his craft all the time, man. And just a competitor. He one of them dudes that competes, man. It was a great opportunity for me to again, work with some other guys around the league that I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. So you guys make this run to the finals. What was it like in that series leading into the finals against Philly? Kawhi hits that shot that takes like 7 seconds to actually go in the basket. What kind of series was that versus Philly?
That was the most physical, one of the most physical series I've been a part of.
Really?
Yeah, that series, man, was tough. They prepared us. You know, I felt like every round that we played in prepared us for something, but they prepared us. They were physical as shit, man. Like Jimmy Butler, you know, he was a big part of the team, but Ben is a physical dude. People don't understand how physical.
Big.
They don't understand how physical Ben is. Ben is physical. Embiid is big. You know, their whole team, they were a big team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had Ennis, they had Tobias. So they played a big lineup. And so their size was a problem. And so what they did was, you know, they stuck Embiid on Pascal, which Colin, you know, Pascal a year, man, he was giving people problems at that 4 spot. But, you know, Embiid was so big, you know, he could take away some of his drives, take away his post-ups. So they kind of nullified him a little bit. And they threw bodies at Kawhi. You know, Jimmy guarded him, Tobias guarded him, Ben guarded him. You know, they had multiple guys, and it was a physical series, man. And as you can tell, Game 7, that thing could have went any way.
Either way, right?
It could have, because it really, Philly at one point, they had us down 2-1, right? They had us down 2-1. We had to win Game 4 in Philly, or they would have went up 3-1. And that game, Kawhi he took that game over at the end. But that was a must-win game for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that right there was the turning point for the series, for us and the team, because they were at our heads, man. Because we won Game 1 and they won Game 2 and 3, and they won them games emphatically. It wasn't like
No,
they were
good.
Yeah, they was beating us. So it was Game 4 was a huge adjustment. But that Philly series was one of the toughest ones I've been a part of.
And then you spoke on earlier, you need a little bit of luck and obviously grind and talent. You guys run into a Warrior team that is a little bit banged up, and not to your, not your fault, but that's just how it was. So to be able to go in there and then win that series, KD comes back, gets hurt again, Clay tears his knee. At the end of the day, you guys end up winning. What was it like to be able to help bring the first championship to a country?
Bruh, you know the fans up there in Toronto,
Crazy.
man. They are crazy and loyal. We got back to Toronto. I thought the parade in Cleveland was crazy. Man, it was 3.5 million people in Toronto.
Damn.
For that parade.
That's dope.
It was that, like you said, Matt, it was a country, not a state, not a city. The whole country was put on. And it was that was a dope experience, man, to be part of that, to be part of just seeing where they came from, you know, the culture of how they built the franchise and them losing so many years in the playoffs to us in Cleveland. That was a dope experience, man.
What was the energy like when Drake came around? No, huge ambassador, big fan, sits right by the bench. What was that energy like?
Man, you know, Drake is one of them dudes, man. He gonna put the battery in your pack, man. For us. And you guys know he on the sidelines. He was an agitator too. As much as anything, he you know, that's why the NBA was giving him hard times sometimes. He was an agitator to opposing teams and players, and he talked big shit. You know, he one of them dudes, man. he talk a lot. I think for the players, man, just they all fed off his energy because he was, you know, that's his team. That's him. That's his city. That's his love, man. And I think it was just a perfect storm.
That's what's up.
That's what it was, man. It was a perfect storm. And like you said, Matt, the injuries to the Warriors were, you know, it's unfortunate. I'm the type of dude, I always feel like you want to try to compete against the best and win against the best and play at the high level, but injuries happen. And while everybody else was talking that, I said, listen, man, we still got to win these games. We have to win these games. Don't matter who's on the floor. You have to win the games.
You got a chance to work with greats. We've detailed, you know, a handful of them. Give me one word when we say these players' names first thing that comes to mind. Kobe.
Man, one word? Shit, Mamba.
Rest in peace.
Straight.
Kyrie.
Swiss Army knife. It's more than one
I
word.
got all
but
kind of compartments.
Swiss Army
That's
knife.
hard.
Like just
That's
with
just a
his
hashtag.
bruh,
Swiss
with
Army
his, with
knife.
his skill set, Swiss Army.
Can do it all. LeBron.
Man, complete.
Mm-hmm.
Complete. That's a picture of a complete player.
Mm-hmm. By far. Most
sure.
complete. Kawhi.
They call him the Terminator, dog. Like that's real. That's like when I think of him, when you actually think of Kawhi's movements, how he is. People think he's robotic, but that man like the Terminator for real.
Yeah.
Like he carries that. I'm gonna tell a story. To me, that's personified. We were down 2-0 against Milwaukee. You know, Nick Nurse came into the locker room and said, you know, we're gonna make some adjustments. We'll get back to Toronto and we're gonna be ready. And Kawhi said the adjustment is I'm guarding Giannis. We walked out the locker room.
That's dope.
That's it right there.
That's
hard.
it, bro.
That's what turned.
I love
That's
Kawhi.
what worked.
I love it.
I remember that shit. What's something you learned from just being able to work those 4 guys out about yourself?
I think they really respected my work ethic. And for me, that was something that I wasn't aware of, just my work ethic. And they respect just the work, my work ethic more than anything. And for me, man, it taught me, like I said, man, validated. I've always wanted the validation of, you know, just knowing that the way I think the game and
It's the right way.
yeah, right. And the way I try to help players, just validate knowing that you're doing the right thing.
See, but I even think, I don't know if you realize, but that probably goes even back to your playing days because you said right when you went to the Warriors, who took you under the arm? The 2 best players, Tim Hardaway and Sprewell. They didn't have to do that. So they must saw you how hard you worked.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And to be able to translate that into everything you're doing, I think that's dope. Your return to the Lakers. How did that come about and how's it been?
Man, you know, it was hard to leave Toronto, man. Toronto was, you know, again, and even with Kawhi leaving, I was locked in for 3 years. It was a hard decision to leave. But I think that the biggest thing for me was, like I said, I have an 8-year-old son who lives here in Los Angeles. And being able to be close to him,
That's everything.
Priority.
that was the main priority. And obviously, look, the Lakers were putting together a championship caliber team. And when I left the Lakers the first time, you know, I walked out of the building saying, I want to come back here one day and be a coach on the front of the bench, and I want to win a championship here. I left saying that. And to be able to come back and have that come to fruition, as in all things too, you know, again, the championship caliber piece was a part of it. And do we have a team to compete coming back here? So it was, again, that was another thing that was kind of everything was nicely wrapped. But my son was the biggest part of that decision for me.
So you returned to the Lakers. Like I said, obviously 2020 was a mess for all of us. We lose Kobe at the beginning of 2020. What's the team's energy, focus like, and then the drive to actually winning it the year he passes?
Yeah, at first it was tough, man. That was a tough adjustment for the team because, you know, how you get to that initial stages, you know, the first few days, right? Kind of get used to it. But every time we went on the road, teams did a Kobe tribute that season. So it was tough to kind of put it behind you.
Yeah.
But I think once we got to the bubble, you kind of felt like everybody's motivation. And then they pulled out their mama jerseys.
It just was hard.
When they pulled out the mama jerseys, dog, you saw just a whole different for whatever reason, man. They played at a different sense of urgency, but you kind of felt everybody was really, really pulling in that direction, man, and trying to do something special.
When you reflect on Kobe and his memory, what stands out?
Man, his realness. His realness, man. He was misunderstood, man. I asked him one time, Matt, I said, man, why are you such an asshole? I asked him that. And he said, you really want to know? You know how he was. And he said to me, Phil, man, some of my teammates don't understand the work. He said, so I see dudes walk into practice 10 minutes before practice and they leave right after. Why the fuck am I going to pass them the basketball? I don't respect their work ethic. I'm in here busting my ass every day trying to perfect my craft, and these dudes don't want to work on their game. I don't trust them. So I'm not going to pass them the basketball. I'm going to ride them hard every day. Made perfect sense when he really broke it down as to why he is the way he is with certain dudes. I was just like, man, I respect that, bro. I respect that. But his realness in the sense of, he told me, he was like, look, man, you have an ability to connect with people. Do not concern yourself with what people think about you. And he told me that, man, and that sunk in. It sunk in. He said, look, you have to move the way you move. Make sure you do your job. Make sure you're professional. Make sure you study the game. But don't be concerned with what people think about you. And that stuck with me ever since I've been in this league.
He was a pro at that. I laughed when you said the 5:45 thing because I automatically knew 5:45 in the morning because I used to have to go out to Orange County and what time you want me to meet you at the track? 5:15. I'm like, nigga, it's still dark. What are you talking about? Like, come on, man, we gotta run. We gotta run, then we gotta hit the gym. We hit the gym and lift so hard I felt like I couldn't lift my arms up, but then we gotta go shoot for like 2 hours out, like the
So
grind.
you experienced it, Matt.
I ran through it with him.
You experienced. People don't really understand like what that was about with him.
Yeah, he respected you. He fucked with you. If they, like I said, he had me come out there. We go work out, then we go have breakfast and everything. And like I said, I know he didn't let too many people do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To be able to get that side of him was dope. And it's funny because I asked him the same question. I was like, why don't you ever show, I didn't say be an asshole. I was like, why don't you show the world how dope you are and how you are with us? And he looked at me and he said, I can't let them motherfuckers see that. You know what I mean? It was just like that constant always go because he, and a lot, Kobe is cool as fuck. I was talking shit to him. He would talk back. We'd all talk and joke on each other. But if you didn't see that, you would never know. He was probably similar to Kawhi.
Bro.
You would never know that that's what kind of shit he's on.
Man, ultimate competitor.
Super.
I know you remember that day, right? In practice.
When he
the
went off on
second
everyone.
unit with y'all was tearing.
Beating the brakes off
listen,
him, bro. He was pissed.
They were beating the brakes off of
and
him,
talking
dude.
shit too.
The first team.
And it was like, it wasn't just one game. It was like one game, then Coach was like running back. It was the second game, running back, and then it was the third game. And then finally Coach said, we in practice. Man, Cole flipped over tables. He was cussing everybody, bro. It was Matt was.
I was gassing.
He was gassing the whole thing, dog.
We supposed to win a championship with y'all. Start with this unit.
Yeah,
Just getting under his skin. He was pissed. He didn't want practice to end first of all, and then once we called it, that nigga was flipping over tables, water containers. He was heated.
Bro.
That's funny. I ain't talked about that shit.
Yeah, bro. I remember that day.
That shit was funny.
What was the NBA bubble and championship run like?
Man, that was one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Y'all in there for a long 100 days?
4 months. Damn. It was hard in the sense of, just being away from your family, your comfort zone, just different. You don't have your normal stuff during the season, routines or players' routines. Everybody's routines were just thrown out the window. But I think the hardest part was one, the no fans thing. It took a while to get adjusted to that because where you generate energy from,
Fans.
And so I'm gonna tell you, man, we had a crew like Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, J.R. Smith, Rondo. Man, them dudes on the bench, oh, bro, they generated so much energy. Like the energy that they brought, JaVale and Dwight alone.
Oh, they're
them
wild.
two.
They're wild.
Oh, bro, they're
like teenagers. It look like jumping up and down, screaming, falling. It's crazy.
So the challenge was, just being there. But again, we had a special group. We had a bunch of dudes that felt like they had stuff to prove. Rondo, Dwight, Bron, even AD. Like our whole team, guys we felt like they had stuff to prove. And so the mindset of them dudes, man, we're here for one reason. We are here for one reason. And once the playoffs started, man, they automatically clicked into that. Them dudes, when I say they were as bought in and as much involved in our coaches' meetings as we were. Like Rondo used to be in our meetings.
I believe it too.
Like for real, man, they were bought into trying to win. And it was really just generating the energy. And then again, once you get into that part of it, I think it was some ways it was easier because you didn't have a lot of distractions. But on the flip side of that, again, you didn't have your family, your comfort zone was gone. So we we had to find ways, man, through that 4 months to just really.
That's a long time.
It is,
man.
bro.
4 months.
It's a long time to be on a resort.
Hell yeah.
No, look, the NBA on the flip side of it, the NBA did a fantastic job. You know, people don't really talk about what they did to make that place as comfortable as possible. We had everything we needed in there. I mean, they had movie theaters, you had restaurants, you can go fishing, you can go golfing,
bike rides.
Well, you had everything you needed, but it was just one of those things where if you were not locked into being in the bubble to really try to compete and win, if you went in the bubble saying, man, I don't want to be here,
you're gonna be home soon.
You were done.
Right.
And
That's
so
tough.
I always said, man, whatever team comes into the bubble with the strongest mental fortitude is going to win.
Well, you're big on mental. You're big on mental, especially at this level. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think people understand how important the mental aspect of the game is. I'd say 90% of the game is mental at this level.
100%. Especially when you get into the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
You get into the playoffs, you lose a game that you're not supposed to lose. Your mentals has got to be, you got to be right to where you can readjust,
bounce back,
and bounce back quickly.
Right. You spoke on Rondo being in the coaches meeting. How instrumental was he coming back? Because he wasn't going to come back. How instrumental was he coming back in the playoffs, in the bubble, and obviously helping you guys win?
Man, we didn't win. We don't win that chip without Rondo. And you ask anybody on that team, coaches, players, front office, man, Rondo was probably one of the smartest IQ basketball players to ever lace up shoes.
He shot the lights out too in the
Bruh,
bubble.
listen, and people give him flack for that. Rondo can shoot. He just don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his gravitation is to do what he does, right? Play, make, involve other people. Man, that man is a maestro, straight up. He is a basketball savant.
I love that.
You know, and his sense of his dissection. You know, Rondo will argue with you. I got many arguments with Rondo. You know, because his thing was like, I study this shit, and I'm like, man, so do I. You know, our whole coaching staff. You know, but that's
you want
that's
that,
what
though.
you want, man.
You want that.
as a coach and organization, and just you can win with dudes like that.
Doc said he used to have to give him his play card before the game. He said Rondo be looking at the play card, calling shit before I even call
Bruh,
it.
Rondo, you try to put some sets in, teach your team. Rondo already on 5, 6 different counters, where the other dudes are still trying to figure out the basic part of the play, but. He's a different breed, man.
I love it.
How special is AD's talent? Duh.
Unicorn.
Yeah, unicorn. That's what I said about Tim Duncan.
Unicorn.
I call him Tim Duncan on steroids.
Hey, bro. Yeah, man, Stak, I don't even think, man, AD is special, man. Right? He could do it. 7 foot, dribble, pass, shoot, post up, handle.
Going hard.
Nah, man, he's special. And I don't even think AD realizes how special he is, man. And but I think great part about him is he's such a good dude.
Humble, real humble.
Yeah, he good dude, got a great family. But I think AD has an opportunity he's an MVP caliber player. And I'm talking about to where he can really dominate the game.
Both ends.
On both ends. Like, he cleans up a lot of stuff, man. And he's a special talent, man. They call him the unicorn.
Second time around with LeBron, how special has it been being able to work with him and win championships with him?
Nah, man, that's been just like, for me, a great, like I said, man, I've always had that mindset of learning from players. You know, as much as we as coaches try to help, man, I've learned so much from Bron, just from commitment. Like, his work ethic is insane. The way he takes care of his body is unbelievable. That man is literally in the weight room 365 days. He might take time off the court, but he is doing something to his body every day to keep himself. And he just, I think the misconception is that he's a coach, he's a GM. Man, he's coachable, right? He wants to be coached, you know? He want to be challenged in that way. And I respect that part of it. Is because he's never shied away from being uncomfortable in terms of trying to reinvent himself and continue to stretch his game beyond what people think he can do. But he's just a coachable dude, which is, to me, the most important piece. You know, because even as coaches, he look us in the eye. Even, you know, hey, coach, whatever you need, whatever you want, coach. But at the same time, he also knows what he wants. And he knows the ingredient for him to be successful, or what he needs around him to be able to compete for championships. So That's rare too, right? Understanding what you need around you, what kind of team you need, and then being able to execute on it.
Being around him a lot, obviously banged up a little bit this year, seeing the kind of work he puts in, how many more years you feel like he has under his belt?
Until he doesn't want to play.
Till he says
That's hard, man. Until he doesn't want to play. I'll be looking at this dude like, bruh, when you gonna slow down?
Right, you've been in his prime his whole career.
Until he don't want to play. And that's, that's a testament to that's what he does with his body, man, how he takes care of himself.
Talk to us about business that you've been able to create outside of basketball. I know you're working, you have an app that's up and running. Talk to us a little bit about the business side outside of basketball.
Yeah, I think, I think the platform that we all have in this industry is sometimes not used properly, right? And so I've always had this passion of what do I want to do with the game of basketball and be able to just share knowledge. I use that phrase all the time, really taking what God has blessed me with and try to help the game. There's a lot of bad trainers out there. It's a lot of BS out there with training and the whole basketball world. So I created the app. I've had a lot of coaches and trainers reach out to me over the years about my philosophy and what have I done. And so the app is the place that I was like, man, let me put this together and make it, because I can't be everywhere. I can't do as much, but the app is a global thing. 94 Feet a Game app is that's my passion project. That's my lifelong work right there, of being able to take, this whole system and formula that I've tried to create for training and put it in one place where kids, coaches, trainers, players, everybody can have access to it to help. Again, I'm not saying that my way is the only way to teach, but this is what made me successful.
It's a hell of a way. It's a hell of a way, though.
This is what's made me
It's
successful.
a hell of a way.
And so that's what the app has been about for me, Matt.
What is it's called again? 94 Feet?
94 Feet a Game app.
Where can they get
Anywhere.
it at?
You can get it on all platforms.
Hey, it's real when you can get that shit anywhere.
All platforms, man. We're just trying to make it as available to people and as feasible to people to, again, if you really want to figure out some detailed training, the app is a great tool. And I'm not just saying it because it's my app. We put a lot of work into it to make it very easy for people to use.
Oh, congratulations on that.
Appreciate that.
Advice to young coaches trying to break in as trainers and development of guys.
There is no blueprint. There is no.
Got to be in you.
There is no. Everybody asks, what's the path? There is no path. Everybody's journey is different. Mine is different than any other. Any NBA. Everybody's journey is different, and I always tell the coaches that it's not instant. A lot of people think you come in or you have an opportunity to coach in the NBA and it's instant. Nah, man. I mean, some guys start out being video coordinators. Some guys start out being interns, right? And even when you get the opportunity to be in, my own experiences is I locked into my job. I wasn't looking at being a bench coach. I wasn't looking at being a second assistant. Mike Brown, what's my responsibilities? All right, I'm locked into that.
I'm gonna kill that role.
Let me kill that role. I think coaches have the same responsibility as players. We all have a role. As a coach, let me stay in my lane and do my role. And I think, people come into the league or they try to get in and say, hey, in 5 years, I want to be this. Or in 5 years, I want to be that. Well, what if that's not the plan?
Right.
What if it's not meant for you to be that in 5 years? So how about you just, whatever your job is, lock into that and be the best that you can be at that part of your job. And then organically,
it'll happen.
It's going to happen wherever it's meant for you to go. So I'm always telling coaches about, just understanding, your journey is different. And my journey was 13 years.
It's a grind.
It's a grind. It's a real grind. And it's not a glamorous job. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And being okay with understanding that may not happen when you want it to happen.
God's time. Quick hitters. First team to come to mind. Home stretch right here. Top 5 musical artists.
Oh, J. Cole. Man, J. Cole. See, I'm different, man. I like J. Cole. I always fool with Jay-Z. I'm a Nas guy. I fool with Drizzy. And I'm going to throw y'all off with this one. I like St. John. I fool with St. John.
Okay, St. John.
I fool with St. John, man.
All right. 5 most skilled players you've ever seen.
5 most skilled. Kyrie. Ooh, Kobe. Hakeem Olajuwon. Steve Nash. I'm about to put Bron in there too.
Got to. That's a nice one.
And that's not in any particular order.
That's a nice 5.
That's not in particular order.
You +4 going to play pickup basketball at Oakland's meanest park. Who you taking?
I'm taking GP, J Kidd, Greg Foster. And I'm gonna take Hook.
Hook
I'm gonna take
Mitchell. Shout out
Mitchell,
Hook.
boy.
Shout out Hook, Bay Area legend.
If you could go back to one night in your career, what would it be and why?
As a player,
Period.
Player, coach.
man, Game 7 in Oracle when we were down 3-1. I had just my family sitting in the stands, being a boy born and raised from Oakland, being in that environment when it was over, and that was probably the most emotional period in my life for a lot of reasons. You know, my parents were no longer alive, but just going through what I had been through to be able to be in that position as a coach, yeah, that's the pinnacle of my career right there that night.
Most influential basketball figure in your life?
My brother. Unheard of, C.L. Handy Jr. He was my closest brother, taught me how to play. He really took me under his wing when I was a little kid, and he would just beat the shit out of me, man. My number one goal was to beat him one-on-one. And I don't think I ever did. That drove me. But he inspired me to really take the game of basketball and try to do something with it.
Last question. Who do you want to see on All the Smoke? And yeah, you have to help us with your answer. You have to help get us your answer on the show.
You got a couple guys on your team that haven't been on the show yet. I'm just throwing that shit out there.
Yep.
Oh, man. Man, boy, All the Smoke, huh? I mean, I know y'all trying to get Bron on here. I know you're trying to get AD on here.
Of course.
I wouldn't mind seeing Kyrie on here, though.
Ooh,
Yep.
good call.
We working on it.
Yes, sir.
Well, Phil Handy, man, we appreciate you.
Man, love. I appreciate you brothers, man, for what you
Appreciate
do.
your time, man.
Yes, sir.
Good luck.
Appreciate
That's a
that.
wrap. All the Smoke. Special guest Phil Handy, world champion, 3-time world champion. You can catch us on Showtime Basketball, YouTube, and the iHeart platform, Black Effects.
And he open if you need to put something in your bag.
Oh, yeah. You might have to get on the waiting list.
Yeah, but you got something to put in your bag.
We'll see y'all next week.
Jamal Charlo is the Lion King of boxing.
Better run, better get up out of way when we come. Better run,
Oh, he catches him with the left hook.
Jamal Charlo looks to defend his crown, but power puncher Juan Macias Montiel is armed to fight back. In the Middleweight World Championship on Showtime.